Have you ever had a big steak dinner or downed a protein shake after a workout and just wondered, what actually happens to all that protein? Well, let's get into it, because the answer is this really fascinating process called amino acid catabolism. It's basically how your body solves a huge problem: what to do with extra protein that it can't use or store right away.
So, that's the big question, right? Unlike fats or carbs, which your body can pack away for a rainy day, there's no long-term storage closet for amino acids. They can't just hang around waiting. So, what gives?
Okay, here's the core of the problem. Any amino acids that aren't immediately snapped up to build new proteins have to be broken down, or catabolized. But that creates a whole new issue. See, when you break apart an amino acid, you release its nitrogen, and that free nitrogen almost instantly turns into ammonia, which is seriously toxic stuff, especially for our brains. So to handle this, the body has this brilliant two-part strategy. It's really clever. It splits the amino acid into two pieces. First, you've got the nitrogen component, which becomes that toxic ammonia and needs to be whisked away for safe disposal. And second, you have the leftover carbon skeleton, which is actually super valuable fuel. It gets repurposed so nothing goes to waste. So let's start with the good part. What happens to those valuable carbon leftovers? This is where protein becomes this kind of secret energy source. These carbon skeletons are incredibly versatile. They don't get thrown out. Instead, they get converted into some of the most important molecules in our entire metabolism. We're talking about things like pyruvate, oxaloacetate, even acetyl-CoA. These are all major players in the pathways that generate energy for literally everything our cells do. But how does the body get that pesky nitrogen off in the first place? Well, the very first step is a process called transamination. The easiest way to think about it is like passing a package. The amino acid literally hands off its nitrogen group to another molecule. And that's the crucial handoff that separates the useful carbon from the dangerous nitrogen. Now, once that carbon skeleton is free, it gets to a fork in the road. It can go down one of two major paths, and this choice is actually how we classify different amino acids. And what's so cool is how these amino acids are grouped. You've got the glucogenic ones, the ketogenic ones, and then a few right in the middle that can actually go both ways. This whole classification system is based entirely on where their carbon skeletons are headed in our energy production line. The difference between these two paths is pretty straightforward. Glucogenic literally means glucose creating. The carbon skeletons from these amino acids can be used to make brand new glucose. On the other hand, ketogenic means ketone creating. Their skeletons get turned into acetyl-CoA or ketone bodies, which are a really important alternative fuel source, especially for the brain when you're fasting. All right, if you're studying for an exam, lean in for a second. Here is a super high-yield fact for you. You've got to memorize this one. Out of all the amino acids, only two, leucine and lysine, are exclusively ketogenic. That means they can only become ketone bodies or their building blocks. They can never, ever be used to make glucose. Okay, so we've covered the happy story of the useful carbon, but now we have to turn back and deal with the other side of the coin, that toxic ammonia that we set aside earlier. This is where the body's detoxification systems have to kick into high gear. And let's be really clear about the danger here. The whole reason this entire process is so critical is because high levels of ammonia are basically poison to our cells. So the body absolutely must have a fast, efficient, and reliable way to get rid of it. So, what is this brilliant solution? It's a metabolic pathway that happens almost entirely in the liver, and it's called the urea cycle. It has one job and one job only: take toxic ammonia and turn it into something harmless. This whole process is laid out right here. You can see the ammonia molecule entering the cycle way down inside the liver cell's mitochondria. It goes through a series of steps, and out the other side comes this molecule, urea. That urea then gets shipped off to the kidneys to be excreted. It's a perfect little detoxification factory. So let's just walk through the biggest moments of the cycle. It all kicks off when that first nitrogen from the ammonia enters the mitochondria. A little later, out in the cytosol, a second nitrogen gets donated by another amino acid, aspartate. The cycle spins around until an enzyme, arginase, releases the final product, one single molecule of urea, which is safely packaged up both of those nitrogen atoms. And the starting molecule, ornithine, gets regenerated, so the whole cycle can keep on turning. Now, this whole detox process isn't free, not by a long shot. The body actually spends the energy equivalent of 4 high-energy ATP molecules for every single molecule of urea it makes. That incredibly high cost just tells you how absolutely vital it is for the body to get rid of ammonia. It's a price well worth paying. So let's put it all back together. We follow the carbon story and we follow the nitrogen story. Now let's just take one last look at the complete picture.
Here it is, in a nutshell. When you've got excess protein, your body splits the amino acids, the dangerous nitrogen part gets removed, sent to the liver, detoxified by the urea cycle, and safely peed out as urea. Meanwhile, those valuable carbon skeletons get plugged right back into your central energy pathways to be used as fuel. It's just an incredibly elegant solution to a really dangerous problem.
So the next time you eat that steak or drink that protein shake, just remember this incredible microscopic process. Your body isn't just building muscle, it's also running this super sophisticated fuel recycling and detoxification plant 24/7. So knowing that protein can literally become glucose or an alternative fuel for your brain, how does that change the way you think about what you eat? That's the power of biochemistry right there.